It's me.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
You can say that again.
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need and not what you don't.
You know, it cuts off a little bit too quickly there, don't you think? Edric Kissinger. I have to do this all the time. My name is Edric Kissinger. You are just a useless eater. We must depopulate the planet. My good friend Bill Gates, he believes the same thing. You are useless eaters. Can you see the cows on my hat, my bandana? You are just cattle on a tax farm. That's all you are, is cattle on a tax farm. Consumer farm, too. And an experimental farm where we experiment on you as subjects. It's pretty crazy. Hi, I'm Tony Caravan, and you're watching The Morning Show. Did you get your morning show mug yet? Medium roast with a little bit of vanilla cocoa in there. In the background, you can see we have the Sentinel light is back on, being powered solely by something that has been charged for weeks. Hasn't been recharged, has been charged for weeks. Cost $199. We charged a iPod watch with it, and we've been running this light nonstop for like 2 hours a day, every day. Same with this thing.
This low was 9 degrees below the normal low of 39. A trace of precipitation fell yesterday, which brings the monthly total to 1.32 inches. This is 0.96 inches below the normal amount of 2.28 inches for April.
It's like when you listen to NOAA radio, which that is, and by the way, that's 35 Smacko Jackos at greatsolarstuff.com. There's my book Codex right below Great Solar Stuff, near the Sentinel lamp. We got the fire on today. I breathed some cold, damp air outside. Looks like they cut off my live chat again today, which is weird. Doesn't make any sense. Let's see if I got a notification that I'm live. Let's see what it says. It'll be bright for a second, probably. Survive and Thrive. Then what? The morning show, now live on your channel. And you people do know my channel, right? It's this.
So you found us.
What is it trying to tell us?
No strings, no catch. You own everything.
Now stay tuned to Rock Flux.
It's Rock Flux. On YouTube, you just look up Rock Flux. There's some other clowns that like tried to steal a name, but I've been Rock Flux for 25 freaking years. Yeah, it's one of those days, folks. You know, woke up and cat's finicky. You know, had to spray some bug spray out in my other room. I didn't want to get into the detail of that. Just not. That's why I moved from New York City years ago. This planet is going to hell, but it's a beautiful world we live in, and there's beautiful people, and you can survive and thrive and all that stuff. But, you know.
Go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor.
I almost watched that Play It Again Sam movie I was talking about yesterday. It's Tony Caravan Live. This is how we start the show every day. Nobody watches it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So kind of there's like, so, and if you want to chat, I don't know. I can't see it. Things just grayed out. The thing about YouTube Studio, Google, Alphabet, that whole company, it's run by a bunch of Peter Pan adults, and the younger ones are just people don't even know how to code. They don't even know how to code. So yeah, Hey, and yesterday, my psycho neighbor mowed her frickin' lawn in ice cold weather wearing a coat. People are strange. Yeah, you bet it, buddy. People are strange. What's going on right now? All right. Being detached. I want to get into this because this is this then what thing. I'm looking for another rock flux.
Rock Flux Live.
Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
Well, let's hear it.
Insert your station call letters here.
Here we go.
I gotta go.
You're clear to go. Hey, don't think this sounds really cool. Let's roll. Go.
It'd be cool if I was playing music.
Let's get this show on the road.
All right. So the idea is this. I had a fairly decent night of sleep last night. I've been noticing them getting some of those pops or those weird anomalies audio. So I'm trying to somehow distance myself from the microphone. Now you can't see the microphone. So I'm hoping that might be it. We call that housekeeping in the business. Get that out of the way. We're 6 minutes and 30 seconds into this show. It's 5:36 a.m. in the former United States. That's Eastern Standard Time, Mid-Atlantic states. It's the 19th of April in the calendar year 2021. Yes, folks, it's 2021, and people are acting like it's the 80s or the 90s. It's like the 80s or the 90s, but they got themselves a little precious. Me precious. Oh, me precious. Oh, don't take me precious away from you. And which brings us to this. If you have a computer or watching this on a computer, you could read the description. The title of the show is Tony Caravan Live 4/19/21, Survive and Thrive. We talk about that all the time. We'll get into it further. But what I was trying to say is that no one is forcing you to be a news junkie. Emphasis on junkie. You got it, junkie. And no one is forcing you to waste hours upon hours in search of dopamine hits on social media, which is about as social as the crackers containing the same name. You ever see those crackers? You ever see those crackers? They got sesame seeds on them or some kind of seeds on it, poppy seeds on them. Put them in dip, French onion dip. They're the best. Let's read that again. No one's forcing you to waste hours upon hours in search of dopamine hits on social media, which is about as social as the crackers containing the same name. It's all an exercise in futility. But if you want to waste your life in a world of make-believe, go for it. It's all an imitation of life. And there's a link to my locals community, TonyCaravanLive.locals.com. Go there. Go there. Join. It's free. It's free. There's people there that, are doing the usual stuff, begging you for support and stuff like that. I make no money. I'm not monetized on YouTube. Never have been. Never have been. Never have been. That's the thing. And never will be, because they won't have me. So I do these things live, and they mess with me. Can you see that? You see my bandana? It's hard, but right here. And there's a little one. See that? Cows. Cattle. That's what you are. Yeah. You're cattle. Watch my video from a week or so ago. What happens when the farmer leaves the farm? Just gets up and leaves. Man, I'm in a good mood today. I put some nutmeg and this other stuff in this medium roast, diluted it a little bit so I'd have a little bit more, enough to get me through the show. And I'm kind of below the halfway mark. I shouldn't even be drinking caffeine. I really shouldn't. Oh, by the way.
Good morning.
So I can't even text a good morning to you, so that's that. So, all this talk about aliens and stuff now. Have you seen that? There's a pyramid in the sky.
They read my thoughts. They communicated to me without even saying a word. They made me laugh. They made me cry. They filled me with this sense of awe that was so profound that I knew right then my life was never going to be the same.
You're right, baby. Your life is never going to be the same. We control the audio. We control everything, actually.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
Rock Flux.
2 papers, please.
So it's a little fireside chat today with an artificial little camping light in the background run by remote power. So we could pretend. Oh, by the way, I ordered a new light for my on-air light, which you could barely see up there. And I guess I should. Is that chewing gum? What is that? Who would play with chewing gum? No, it's not chewing gum. It's silly putty. Silly? It's silly putty. Do you remember silly putty? You could take it in the commercial, you could take it to the funny papers and you can flatten it out. You could like flatten it out like that and press it on the funny papers because the ink in those days, that stuff never dried. You'd read the newspaper and you have to wash your hands because you'd have black ink on your fingers. And you'd put it on Dilbert or whoever. I don't know who the heck. And then the image would be transferred to your silly putty. Then you just mixed it up again. Silly putty. Silly. See, instead of calling people names, like I was saying in this description, like I think once I had the word venting there. Did I keep the word venting? I have to double check. Instead of wasting hours upon hours, I put in search of dopamine hits. I should add to that hours upon hours venting in search of dopamine hits on social media. Yeah. Nobody reads that stuff, except that's why I read them. Yeah, I just like, I've got this, it just dawned on me. I mean, not like it hasn't dawned on me, years and years and years ago. The problem with being an immortal is that you've lived so long, you've seen everything, Just different geographic locations, different people in charge. All the government agency tried to recruit me over the years, but I refused. Right about now is when the reverse aging process starts. It takes me back to about 30. And then I age at like 1 day per decade type of thing. But anyway, that's why I still have my Knights Templar coin. I've been around forever, and I wrote the very first song. You can say these things, and people are so weird. They don't believe you no matter what. It doesn't matter. Anyway, what I'm going to try to do here, remember the first part of the show is usually a little bit silly, but it also cleans up loose ends or whatever. So remember I talked about a social security card and I couldn't find it. So I guess if I slant this over, I don't want to do it that way, but it'll shed some light on the subject. No, that's not going to do it really. I just want enough light there to get the game over and some of our objects lit. What I think I might use is the flashlight is the reading light, actually. See, in addition to having a crazy flashlight, this device also, the solar panel, see that thing that I just raised? Nah, you can't see it, but anyway. The solar panel, has a reading light on it. So we're going to use the reading light to see if we can't shine enough light on this thing to get that point across. The bottom line of this is my Social Security account, okay? There's probably people out there trying to figure out the number on there. It says on the bottom, if you look very closely, it's very hard to read. It says for Social Security and tax purposes, not for identification. You see that? For Social Security and tax purposes, not for identification. That's my official Social Security card. That was issued to me and two other friends of mine. We were in line together. I don't know if I was in the middle. I think I was in the middle. One of them's formerly a bass player from my band who unfortunately is no longer with us. He died. And the other guy I lost track of many, many decades ago. But we had the last digit of because they come on a roll back then. I don't even know how they do Social Security cards now. We were 16. So we went to the Social Security office in our town. I don't even know if they have that kind of thing anymore, right? The lady behind the counter was like a friend of my mom's. I grew up in a smaller town. It wasn't that small, but I mean, small enough. And so the last digit of my Social Security number and the last digit of my two friends, so we were all consecutive. So it was whatever, blah, 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 that last number, was an order between the three of us. But I don't remember anything. Other than I remember I got a job and started working at 16. How many people today work at 16, I actually started working at more or less like, 10 or 12 because my father had a printing shop, the family printing business, the legacy printing business that my grandfather had. And my brother ended up opening a printing shop. I've done graphics. His son works there. It's a 4 generations of printing. And who knows what, farther back, who could remember, you know. I've got some old pictures. I should dig them out. They're not too far from here of people from distant relatives, photos from Europe, you know, so they go back to, because, as soon as like somebody got a camera in a town, back in the 1800s, then everyone had to that was the thing. You had to get a, family portrait or something like that. Or a portrait of the woman you loved before you went into battle so you could look at it while you're freezing and starving and your feet are falling off. Trying to do something for the king or the, pawns. We've been pawns all along. People never got it, it just never clicked. Humans never seem to learn, and and until they get pushed to the end, because I notice there's a lot of that going on now. Like I said, I don't have TV anymore, but all you have to do is scan on YouTube. You can't help it. It's in your face. I was telling somebody yesterday on the phone right before I went to sleep last night, brief phone call. I said, yeah, I was, as I was looking just below my recommended list on YouTube, I noticed there was this thing, the active shooter or something, right? And it seems like they've got one every week or every couple days now. And I was trying to tell this person, I said, here's, and for your sake, this is Tony Caravan, another Tony Caravanism. I don't know what's going on with this light. The lighting just seemed to stay weird. I don't really care. It's early in the morning. I don't need bright lights in my face. But it's just a bunch of bull. In other words, in Chicago, New York, Atlanta, these high crime districts, right? But let's use Chicago, because weren't they had the highest crime? Let's just, as always, let's not talk out of our arses. Let's look here. Chicago shooting 2021. See, because people follow this stuff. Chicago weekend shooting, 14 shot, 2 fatally since Friday. That's April 16th. Chicago violence 21, so far deadliest in 4 years. Okay. With a quarter of 2020 already over, it has so far been the deadliest year in Chicago in 4 years, as the city saw another spike in gun violence even before the warmer weather months arrived, because it gets worse in the summer. That's from the Chicago Tribune, by the way, folks. Not exactly, some counter thing. The spike follows an especially deadly 2020 that saw more than 760 people slain, among the worst years for Chicago violence. That's 760 people. Now think about that. 360 5 times 2 is less than that. That means that's an average of 2 people a day being slain. Okay. So, like that headline said, there's an active shooter in Chicago averaging every frickin' day, but every weekend there's like 14, there's like active shooters because it's the same. And well, it's not the same thing because it was in a such and such in Colorado or wherever. No, that's bull. It's the same thing. These active shooters, they're shooting people in fast food restaurants, and they're shooting cops, they're shooting people in drive-bys, they're shooting kids, they're shooting everybody, man. But see, the networks, they cherry pick. And so they suddenly turn this thing into some kind of, I don't know, like it's news coverage because they don't have the guy with the red man or whatever, orange guy, so they're like just like trying to turn everything into some kind of sensationalized thing. So they swoop down with their networks and they all cover it, right? Active shooter in such and such a town, 2 people shot, 3 injured, right? And I'm going, and that's just, we could go right down the list. We could, you think Chicago's like the worst, I believe. Okay, don't hold me on that, but I believe 706. I mean, that's a lot, and it's on track to be the worst ever year. Okay, so this has nothing to do with political parties, nothing to do with anything, right? Under 2 different political parties, it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. The death toll is rising. All right, from murders and stabbings. In the UK, they got really seriously gun controls, and stabbing murders have gone up like this. This has nothing to do with guns. Has nothing to do with anything. It has to do with psychopaths that these corporatocracy has created. But yeah, there's an active shooter. Well, why are you ignoring Chicago? Think about that. Why?
This is Metropolitan Police speaking. Metropolitan Police speaking. All persons are warned to stay off the streets. All persons are warned to stay off the streets.
Yeah. Do you ever, I don't know if you're a YouTuber or not. You get these comments and it's like a dot and a time, like in like so many seconds, and then it just has a name. I never click on it. Someone said that they're like people trying like porn things or something weird like that. Why doesn't YouTube? It's so obvious that it's always 2 dots and like like dot 31 seconds or something. And then it's set, and there's no real comment or it's nonsense and it has a name that's just a made up name. So why don't they filter that out? That's like I used to say in the old days, like in spam, it would have been so easy, for them to have like labeled direct marketing in a certain way. Right. In other words, if you were going to send out, is to have all these services that you can use if you want to send out bulk mail, which is what spam is. It's bulk mail. And so you have to use, most of them use one of these services. I'm not going to name, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, that's what I'm saying. There's too many people clueless about what's going on in the world right now. But anyway, these services should have been, when they did this bulk stuff, and these were all paid service, you paid for it. I knew people who had companies who wanted to legitimately send out what they were, like kind of it's like, the digital version of a direct mail piece. And so all they had to do is have it encoded something in there that would be detected by the browsers that this was spam or direct mail. And in your browser, you could have just went under preferences and selected want to receive direct mail or advertising mail, or no, on off. It's like block pop-up screens or not block pop-up screens. It took them a long time to start getting into that stuff, right? And that's the corporatocracy. See, those are the lobby groups. See, the corporatocracy spends billions of dollars, and that's how they have their influence over and how they took over the Congress and the White House and the courts. Some people think, oh, the courts? What do you mean the courts? Justice is blind. No, the courts are totally politicized. We've seen that over the past several decades, right? There are very few. I mean, there are some, I guess there are some honest judges out there in smaller towns and certain areas, and I'm sure there's a few old-time federal judges that are, believe in law and order, right? But I mean, they're political appointees on the federal level. It's all everything's fixed and you can't change it, right? That was a line out of that Jesus Christ Superstar movie too. Everything is fixed and you can't change it. And there's people out there with their little protest signs. Yeah, 2022 we'll take back Congress. Then what? It's the title of my show today. Then what? ? I have a t-shirt at TonyCaravanLive.com. Get it. Wear it. Get it on a tote bag if you don't want to wear it, and you go shopping with it. We're crying out loud. You could probably get it on a mug, show it to your wife every morning, or have it at the table. So when your kids go out to protest, they you could put it in their face. Mommy, we're going out to protest this. They called us a name. Okay. Then what? Say they make a law, right? They pass some kind of bill, executive order, EOs, right? Everything EOs now. It's like POTUS, SCOTUS, EOs, right? That, all that stuff. Started with the LOL thing. Man, did I hated that the first time I ever heard that back in like AOL days, right? LOL. Adults actually saying stuff like that. I can honestly say, more do I hate texting. I've got one friend. I'm still getting spam. I turned off. How the heck did they even move to this one? I actually closed off one of my email accounts because I was getting so much spam. And by closing that account, it actually put me receiving certain information in jeopardy because I might not get it, and I might be billed something I don't want to, I want to cancel or something like that. But I just got so tired of the volume of spam. But there were certain people that just liked getting email. So they got this stuff. Then they pressed on, clicked on it. That was the original clickbait was in spam. And then of course the banner thing didn't last. I mean, there's still banners, but not like there were. Banners used to be a big business, that was advertising. They were like billboards, and I always pushed to people. I said, forget about, I said, you guys, people are going to come up with ways because they were all making them pop. You'd click on it and it would pop up, or there'd be all this other stuff. Remember, I was in the advertising industry, right? As this whole thing was happening, I was on, I was basically in the, on the forefront of it, and so I was in the HTML Writers Guild, some advertising association type of thing. I've been around forever. Like I say, the Illuminati coin. You don't have to hide this stuff. You can just talk about this stuff because nobody believes anything. And everything's so insane and ridiculous anymore. It doesn't really matter. It's like my show. I've already probably broken a record. All right. Just with this live show. These 2-hour shows that I do, consecutive shows nonstop in 2021 alone, probably broken a record already. People do weekly shows, Monday through Friday, all this kind of stuff. I've been doing a show every single day nonstop, covering all kinds of topics. But nobody listens to them. But I do it anyway because I watch it. I mean, when I say nobody listens to them or nobody watches them, they do, but not many. Not many. And to some people, that's a turnoff instantly right there because they look at the numbers and they go, oh, that show only got 4 views, or that show only got 13 views or 14 views. Or, I've had some, that song only got 133 views or something. Mustn't be good. Right? Do you ever notice on like Netflix or I guess all those sites, they have a thing called trending, right? And it's like a number. Here's the number 1 trending movie rental in the country. And people go, hey, honey, get that. That's trending. Let's get that. Why? Why? Well, it's trending. Must be good. Right? Sheep, cattle. They wonder why these people figured this thing out, long ago too. This is nothing new. Hey, kitty cat, you want to come up here? You want to come up and say hello to the good people? Come here. Come here, Kit. Come on up. People want to see your face. You're not coming up. But people wonder why these people, they see us as cattle. Well, and some people use that term sheeple. I used to hate that for the longest time, because that was like, I don't know, that sounded weird. But now it's like, I totally accept it because, why not? It's the truth. This is just a long form discussion. It's a flow of consciousness. We're dealing with issues. I gave you the title, Then What? Because that is the whole thing. Then what? I'm talking about how to thrive, survive. But if you're going to survive, you really want to thrive. I say this all the time, and I'll say it again and again and again and again. Instead of going out and protesting and saying we're going to do this and donating money to political campaigns, right? Living well is the best revenge. And living well doesn't mean living in a mansion like these YouTube millionaires, right? We bought a new truck. I bought a jet. We bought a mansion. One guy who I like, he's an interesting character. Him and his wife is hot too. His wife is hot. I watched a show. They bought an abandoned mansion. You probably know who I am because the guy gets millions of followers, and he's a cool dude. I like the dude. I mean, if I knew him, I mean, if he was around here, I'd say hi to him. He seems like a nice guy. I think he's a vet or something. I'd take my cat to him. But they did this thing. Well, they ended up moving. They get so many views, millions of views. You know what that translates into dollars? That they were going to just like buy this thing, use it as a YouTube thing, and like flip it or something. This abandoned mansion type of thing. But they got so much money, they're moving into the place. It's like I say, I don't know if they're YouTube millionaires, but they probably are. And there's so many of them like that. The things, But there's so many like really cool people out there. So I'm in a pickle, excuse me. So I do YouTube videos, long form videos every freaking day. I write all these books, right? 10 books, 50 freaking songs, CDs. All my stuff's for sale anywhere things that old classic line. Anywhere books, anywhere music can be sold or heard or whatever. You could find my stuff anywhere you want. And and occasionally, like I say, occasionally some people listen on, I get a few listens on Spotify and Apple. Couple times once year when I first was starting to do this, there was a station out in California, a station you would know, one of those that was like you kind of know the name nationally. And there was one of those power stations, I think, or something in New York played one of my songs. But apart from that, and some very minimal play on Spotify, Apple Music, occasionally. But it's like, and even good reviews, it doesn't matter, It's because people want, some kind of packaged thing, produced thing. And this kind of free form flow of consciousness, stream of consciousness, whatever you want to call it. I call it flow of consciousness in my book. My next book's going to be all flow of consciousness. This one at least has a little bit of, the first half of it is like kind of structured more. Second half isn't. But it's a fireside chat, for the lack of something different. It's like, what do you really got to do? I was watching somebody the other day was talking about there's still the idea of people who just will not, get a job. They don't want to work. I just made a sign. I have it on my counter right now because the guy never picked it up. A local business down the street. Driver wanted and kitchen help. And I went down there and I saw it was like a handwritten sign on his door. It's been on there for like a week, couple weeks. So I snapped a picture of it with my phone because that's not a I don't have a cell service anymore. That's what I mainly use it as, take photos. And I brought it back and then I did a nice graphical version of it. So at least it looks a little more professional. Maybe you can see it from the street for better than this magic marker sign. And don't you hate when people say that? I mean, I'll show you. I don't like to talk about anything. I mean, there's some other stuff in here, so it's like a package for this guy. But see, see, that's what I didn't want to happen. Delivery driver and kitchen help wanted. Like I say, my show is the truth. It's the truth. When I talk about it, I talk about it, just like I showed you that Social Security card thing. So how did they change from on these things for Social Security and tax purposes, not for identification? Clearly written on the front of the card. There's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines on the card. One is Social Security, your account number, your name typed out, a signature. They want you to sign it, which is anything from but my signature is today. And for Social Security and tax purposes, not for identification. Keep this card. Sign it immediately. Show it to your employer. Once a year, you can get a statement of your wages credited to your account. If you change your names, contact the Social Security Administration. Yeah. So when did that become like, anything but what it says it is?
Your papers, please.
Because that's what it is now.
Your papers, please.
I got this like pad on my chair now. And I don't know. I wasted money. You waste money on things. False advertising. That's one thing you won't find here. Or these demonstration videos on YouTube where they give a review of a device. Like if somebody reviews these types of devices here, they'll just do a 10-minute video. It's like, no, man, why don't you do what I do? Why don't you plug it in, right? See, that's the light. Light, it's plugged in, light comes on. No, I'm giving you a real life test for hours, daily, demonstrating that a device works. Something that, I won't put my name on. What's going on with this chair, man? I tell you, it's so ridiculous. Ugh, muscle man. It's tough being an immortal, So they just don't. I was just, what was I saying? I was trying to talk about this person. Oh, well, we got through that. So this active shooter nonsense, which is just totally just another way for the networks to create free content out of a personal family tragedy, right? We all, like I say, there's a lot of narcissistic sociopaths out there, and there's certainly an ever-growing amount of psychopaths. We know that. Okay, that's long coming. That's decades old. But then again, it could be millennia old. The human species just doesn't seem to get it. But this idea that they just, swoop down, right? And then because they swoop down, then these families end up suing and stuff and becoming multimillionaires, which, like I say, I mean, I'm not against that. But what about the poor families in Chicago? They're not getting millions of dollars because they're being ignored by the media because it's Chicago. And Chicago had has like an average of 2 active shooter events a day, averaging out. Usually they're like, grouped on weekends, So my point is that, this happened in Boulder, or this happened at some fast food restaurant in some, you know, city where, in Austin. I mean, Austin is, for lack of a better word, is a shithole. I noticed other people use that kind of language on these, and they haven't gotten banned. So it's like, I'm going to say it. Austin has gone down. Have you seen Austin in the past year? These boarded up buildings, all this, like how crazy it is. And so I noticed that, in passing, like I say, I watch YouTube on TV. So I use a thing similar to like this kind of remote. So you just kind of like push next. You find something you like and you hit the big circle, type of deal. So, you can't, in other words, it's in your face. That's part of their whole plan too. And that's part of this idea that a lot of people think they know what's going on in the world, because that is the new clickbait. I was talking about spam, how they could have ended that back in 1999, 2000 or whatever. But they didn't, because the corporatocracy was alive and well back then and lobbied Congress, the Direct Marketers Association, DMA or something, whatever it was. I mean, these people they're lobbyists. Like I used to live there. They used to just call it K Street. That's how they referred to it. They would say, "Oh, K Street's, behind that bill." And so, these people, they wine and dine and do everything they can within the confines of what is, what kind of parameters are set in, the do's and don'ts. Like they can take them on these so-called junkets. Everything has to be done a certain way, but they can take you out to Las Vegas or take you out to Hawaii, right? Because it's a exploratory or some kind of thing, right? And then, the congressmen and senators, they get all this inside information. So they go in there and they get a salary. I mean, they're overpaid to begin with, but say they get, whatever it is. Let's look. Like I say, I don't like everything on this channels is documented truth. All right. Congressperson's salary. Somebody else checked for that, so it's right at the top. Senators and House Representatives position, $174,000. All right. The majority leader gets $193,000 bucks, almost 200 grand, but $174,000. All right. But these people are millionaires, most of them, except for like freshmen that come in. But if they stay in, they get elected a few terms, suddenly they're multimillionaires. And the ones like, who've been in there forever, both parties I'm talking about now. Like I say, I'm not political anymore. I gave up. Homie, don't play that game. All right. That game's over. It's all the same. They're all the same. Even the ones that go in trying to be noble. They either get corrupted or they get pressured or they get outvoted, and then they have a choice. They move the fam, to Maryland, Virginia, DC, greater DC area, some nice place, and the kid's in a nice school system, and the wife's made all these friends, got involved in these social clubs, and congressman's in a country club and in whatever. And so the person has to make a decision. Do I stand up for something and lose all this and we go back to some small town? I had a friend, this is about 25 plus years, between 25 and 30 years ago, when I was living in I was back in my town, the smaller town where I came from. And I used to hang out at a pub place. It was kind of one of the places that used to have a happy hours, and it was like, it wasn't, the sheriff, lawyers, DA used to drink there. So it was that kind of place. And a guy I used to know who was from a different school became a congressman. I'm not going to talk about the name or anything. And I used to talk to him. We used to have some beers at the bar, and we were friends. And like I said, I have no cult of personality. I knew him before he was a congressman. I knew him after he was a congressman. So we talked exactly the same way. Other people, you could see people keeping their distance. They're like, oh, it's like, it's a congressman, But he came from a small town. So I don't know his story. I've lost touch with him over the years. It's like, well over 25 years ago. But he was a nice guy. And, he and I had drinks. He invited me down a couple times. I never went. But I was always doing 1,000,001 different things anyway. And I had lived in DC years prior to that, like 40 years ago is when I lived in Capitol Hill, worked for Roy Cohn. So the point of the matter is he came from a very small town. So I don't even know. In fact, I'm curious, just out of curiosity, if he kept his seat. Let's see. Blank is an American politician, member of congressional district from 1993 to 2013. Okay. So he's no longer there. The exact same age as I am. We were born only a couple months apart. So that was, he was in for 20 years, or let's see. Oh no, he was in the local district, but he was in Congress for 10 years. But he was a politician for like 20 years. All right. Excuse me. So he's, but say a guy like him would have been in. He's retired now, and I'm sure they get a good pension and all that stuff. But he was a nice guy. At the time, different political party than I was. Like I say, I've gone back and forth. But, a person using a personal, and the reason I'm not mentioning his name is because I don't want to say anything negative about him, because I knew him. And I know he was a nice guy. But as an example, I'm just giving an example. Like I say, I don't talk out my arse here. So if he were in someone like him, okay, giving that as an example. See, like I said, I'm talking firsthand knowledge here. Unlike somebody else who's like, even these news readers or these famous news readers who have TV shows, nightly TV shows, right? And they might know them because they're a reporter. They might know a name of somebody or something, but they don't know them like me. You see, what I'm trying to say is I got firsthand knowledge, right? And when I lived in Capitol Hill, I was working, I was at that working for Roy Cohn in his waning days, but he was still getting paid through the law firm. So this is before he lost his law license. And there were people, there were parties at that DC townhouse and stuff. And there were senators present and people like that. Okay. So I'm talking firsthand knowledge. Okay. So, but let's throw that, these just to qualify that I know what I'm talking about, which is why I should have 385 million views right now, because, it does, you see what I'm saying? I'm the guy, I'm the guy. Where's that thing, just for the sake of, to keep it light. Where is it? Here it is.
I am your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. It's Tony Caravan Live. We keep it light, but we keep it truthful here. And we keep it firsthand information. So let's take an example. Someone like one of these people I know firsthand in person. Well, if that individual would have been in today, they would be making $174,000 a year. Okay. Now I know their hometown. It is hardly a town. I mean, it's nothing. If you think the city I came from was small, which was a city, I don't even know if that was like a so-called incorporated city. It was more like a borough or something. It's literally a couple streets where he came from. He was a football guy, played on a football team. So, and like I say, let's forget about that person. If there's somebody out there trying to figure out this or whatever, blah, 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 congratulations, right? I hate like snoopy, nosy people. That's why I don't talk to my neighbor anymore. She's mentally disturbed. And so, that's something I could, I don't want to criticize her for that aspect. She's got problems. But on top of it, she's nosy and gets into your business and then says things, right? And then chatters. So I don't go for that. And that's all news readers are. What is a reporter? A reporter is a nosy person who broadcasts the rumor mill is this, and a TV station is their rumor mill, right? Remember that? Did you ever hear that term? The rumor mill, right? You know what a mill is, right? It's a place where something is, milled, made, and ultimately distributed. So there are these busybodies. News readers are busybodies who work for rumor mills and make millions and millions of dollars. And they pretend they're defending you, but really all they're doing is they're busybodies, nosy busybodies working for rumor mills, right? It's like politicians. It's like these people. Your delivery boys for grocery store clerks in the Apocalypse Now type. So a guy or a gal, which is like a word that I don't really use, but I like using it just because it's, you know, trigger somebody or something. A guy or a gal who's in Congress or Senate or the Senate making $174,000 a year, six figures. Okay. Well, I'm living at the poverty level. Okay. And this area I'm living in right now would be the equivalent of where, you know, many of these Congress people come from, right? Because they're districts. Unlike senators where you have two from a state, okay? And those people are usually fairly well groomed, right? You know, that's the Rhodes Scholar type of thing, or you have the family connections. It's very hard to find a senator out of nowhere, on either party, doesn't matter. They've got, there's some kind of family, there's money behind them, senators, right? I don't care if you're talking back like people like Jack Kennedy or even somebody like, you look at the, Rand Paul or something like that. The legacies, they're either legacy politicians or they come from old money or they're nouveau riche who have some kind of influence or something like that. But congressmen's a much different story. Those guys usually end up, start out in their state legislatures. They come from districts. There's lots of them, because it's based on, the state. And so, they come from a place like I am where I'm living at the poverty line. All right. I'm below the poverty line. I got a thing about paying some kind of tax from the tax collectors. They still have tax collectors. I don't know who's watching this, but I just say this for posterity's sake. There's these tax collectors. And I go, I'm not paying them taxes this year. I'm living below the poverty line. I'm done. I'm retired. They were trying to get me to pay some kind of tax, local tax thing or something. And it was coming from the tax collectors. Because, see, the local governments don't do anything anymore. Right? At one time, you paid taxes and you had the city had took the trash. They had departments, they used to call them, the department of, streets, the department of this, the department of that, the water departments, but they sold them all. And then suddenly this word came up called authority. See, they wanted to outsource all of this stuff, but they wanted it to still have some kind of fool the average moron, right? Citizen, as the cops call you. Yeah, there was one citizen was present at the scene. Excuse me, officer, and you are not a citizen? Right? Always gets me. But they wanted to fool the citizens, all right, of the city. So they said, we need a word, right? We'll use authority. So they created the Water and Sewer Authority, right? Which is actually my highest bill that I pay right now. And they're the ones that are ripping apart our streets and destroying the foundation of my house. And why I think I've started to see some bugs in my house, because the shaking, like I say, I lived in California. It's like an earthquake. It's like, stuff like this, things will be shaking for a while. I don't know if you could see that. It's like, hey, I think we got an earthquake. Let's just keep the show going. Hopefully we don't lose our internet connection. There it is. It's over. Then the news covers it. There's some pictures of some stuff shaking in a convenience store where they had a CCTV camera. Well, anyway, my house was for 12 hours a freaking day for multiple days. And that was the Water and Sewer Authority. And they're not done yet. So it's kind of like the Fed, the Federal Reserve, right? They needed, when they wanted to set up this central banking system in the U.S., in other words, take the money away from the Treasury, right, of the United States. So they created the Fed. So let's see here. Mr. Moneybags. Got some, let's take our little money out here. Big wad of cash. Hardly. Well, the all-seeing eye, of course, which, you know, is what the corporatocracy is. But, you know, just a reminder, you know, like people just, you know, you just need to be reminded. I like to be the guy who just reminds you of all of these things, like the Social Security card. What does it say at the top? Let's see if we get some light on it. There we go. Federal Reserve note. Now, what is a note? Like a bank note. All right. Federal Reserve note. This isn't a dollar bill. This has nothing to do with the United States government. This is a consortium of private banks, okay, called the Federal Reserve. So it sounds like they're the federal government. They're part of the federal government. But they're not. It's a private consortium of banks. It's a central banking system. Right? I brought some extra ice cubes so I don't have to leave. Though I might have to leave if I run out of coffee because I'm just on a caffeine freak thing. Back to caffeine, and you know, I kind of wish I wish I could be sitting here smoking cigarettes like the old reporters, you know, kind of thing. Sometimes, you know, life. There was another thing that never got. I always wondered about, you know, like, you know, was there some kind of collaboration? We know the tobacco industry knew that there were health issues with, and they've gotten sued for it. But the cigarettes, they still have a strong lobby because you could still buy a pack of cigarettes. They cost a fortune, but you can still buy them. You know, that's the funniest thing. But you know, this will kill you. You know, whatever. When out in L.A., there used to be a popular brand of cigarettes that had like skull and bones on it. It was called Death cigarettes, and that used to be all popular, you know, on like Hollywood Boulevard places. At one place that bar where Johnny Depp used to hang out at, the something room. I know all about all that stuff. And the tattoo shops out there and shit. Sorry for the language. See, when you travel around, and it's not a matter of traveling around like people go on vacations or, hey, we were there. We walked down Hollywood Boulevard, saw the stars. No, it's like when you live and you're a part of the community and you know these people. So, yeah. So the city's turned this, and to finish this thought, just this stuff to remind you. All right. And I'm just doing this. This is just as, you know, this is history. You know, these are tapes for, you know, those who survive the cataclysm, right? The coming cataclysm. And that this digital recording may survive, to let you know how messed up the former United States was, like when the United States empire fell, the truth about it, not those things you see on, you know, that are archived from network television or from government sources or academics, colleges and teachers teachers. They're not teachers. What teachers don't teach anything today, right? Right? They're like classroom monitors. They're the delivery boys and girls for grocery store clerks. The grocery store clerks are the administration, the administrators that never even existed when I was in school. Two things we need to talk about: the congressman thing, okay, and to finish this authority thing. So you pay taxes, all right, but they privatized all of the things that your taxes used to go to. So they got water and sewer authority. The trash company's separate, right? You know, everything's an authority, you know, nothing's included anymore. So you pay taxes. What does it go to? To these politicians and these people who work in these city halls or whatever. And they all, and you see them, and you look at a city hall parking lot, and it's all these like $60,000, $80,000 SUVs. And at lunchtime, these women, you know, and men are getting into these SUVs, going to these expensive restaurants and having lunch every day. That's what your taxes go to now. And then you've got to pay these authorities, and people think it has something to do with the government. It has nothing to do with the government, just like a dollar bill has nothing to do with the government. It's a Federal Reserve note. It's basically the Federal Reserve, you know, note. You know, they saying it's a dollar. You know, it's a game. It's a big freaking game. It's fiat, what they call fiat currency. But just to finish up on the Congress or senator idea, so they're going to come back to a place like where I am, which I intentionally moved here because I wanted to live below the poverty line, so I could be free of the corporatocracy, to be free. It's like that stuff I showed you before. I don't even want to do any work. That people still come to me because I'm like this, you know, this legendary guy, you know, and I have this equipment and I can do anything, right? Ask me any question. You need this. Yeah, I could do that. But it's like, I don't want to do anything, man. I'm just sharing. I want to share this. This is service to others. I'm trying to like straight talk facts. There's got to be somebody out there, and I'm the only one that I've found so far. There are other like people who are giving little nuggets of truth here and there, but they don't follow through, and it's not firsthand. They're reporting. So why would some congressperson who's making $174,000 want to go back to a borough where they could hardly get it? There's no work, you know, and unless they were a lawyer, maybe open a law firm and make a decent living, but probably end up getting divorced from their wife. Their kids would be pissed at them for having to leave these private DC schools and stuff, or, you know, Virginia, Maryland, these cool places, you know, the good life, and the multi-million dollars that they end up getting the tips on. See, you know, the junkets and, you know, the insider trading, because they're all multi-millionaires now. And again, I'm not talking about the person I knew, because that person's been out of there for what? Almost 20 years. So forget it. And he's a nice guy. So I doubt if he was, that's probably why he's out of there, because he was a nice guy. Wasn't on the take. But people, you know, people who are there now, whoever, you know, they're all multi-millionaires. And you can look that up too. I'm not going to go line by line. You know, you got to dig in. That's where you got to really dig in. That's the stuff these news people should be doing. Investigative reports, the net worth. I mean, they do it occasionally of certain people, and you find out that they're worth like ridiculous amounts of millions of dollars, and they live in these mansions or have like 3 or 4 houses. And it's like, and they're never, and they never work. They work like 50 days out of the year or something. And when they do come in, they just, you know, pass these pork bills that, you know, somehow their hubby or their wife or, you know, whoever they are, ends up profiting from in some inside deal. Usually real estate or development or something like that, you know. So, you know, and so these people who are out there still true, but there's so many true believers still out there. They actually don't know the United States has fallen. You know, when they hear me say the former United States, they really don't get it. They can't get that. I can't believe like how many of these videos, like as I just scanned down the line, the title cards, you know what I'm talking, the title cards. When you see, you know, the thing you click on to play the video is a title card, right? That's what I call them. I don't know what other people call them, you know. And there's a title below it, and there's a picture of something. And most of the for these YouTube millionaires or these professional YouTubers, it's some posed thing, right? Which you know, I hate that. You know, the posers. People like that stuff. It's the cult of personality. It's like influencers. So now they've like merged influencers with like YouTube, you know, posers and YouTube millionaires or YouTube, you know, professionals. And so you've got these title cards and these people are posing. Strike a pose. I mean, come on. This is the world we live in. Yeah, this is pop culture. This is mainstream, right? That's where you're wrong, Dave Rubin, about when you saw it's not mainstream media, it's corporate media. No, the mainstream, they're the lunatics, they're the politicians. That's the cult of personality. Politics is pop culture, it's mainstream. Yeah, and it's pathetic. It's a bunch of posers. Strike a pose. You know, I mean, look at me wearing a bandana, you know, with cows on it. Where's that crazy thing? People just don't get it. They really don't get it. They really don't get it. And, you know, and like I say, active shooters. Free content at the expense of somebody's personal tragedy. It's the same as they did with the plague, right? You know, the average age of the person that died was the same as the average age of that a person will naturally die from. And like there's, you know, like many have said, but again, it's a factual thing. You just go to the CDC site and remember all the press conferences. I watched them live back then because that was before I just got so disgusted that I just cut the cord. But they were saying, if you, particularly people who have diabetes or respiratory problems, you know, pre-existing conditions, you know, should be right. And so they decided to close down society, right? Remember, heart disease still was then and still is now the number one leading cause of death in America. It's like 650,000 people per year, right? And then you've got these other things. And so they decide that they're going to close down the country, right? But all the places that lead to heart disease and diabetes, they kept open. They kept open. And if you qualified for what they used to call food stamps, but now it's like EBT, electronic benefits transfer, or whatever they call it in other states and different places, right? I qualified for it because I live below the poverty line. So they call it EBT where I'm at, right? So they gave you they maxed out, no matter what your what your level was of, they maxed you out. You got extra. And so you go to the grocery store and you watch the person checking out with their EBT card, right? And it's all like food that, food, if they don't have type 2 diabetes already, they're going to have it, right? It's all junk food. It's all artery clogging food. And all the fast food restaurants that still deliver, pickup and delivery and all that kind of stuff. It's all artery clogging food. Clogged arteries lead to strokes, heart attacks, and strokes and stuff. The leading causes of death in the United States, even higher than the 1-year plague. These are every year and still are right now, right today. Go to the CDC site. Go to the CDC site. So like what corporatocracy lobby, or what's going on with that? Or is that just downright blatant depopulation, right? Last I checked on the CDC site 2 days ago, was it over 47,000 people, officially committed suicide, in the past year. And you have to remember that that doesn't necessarily include deaths that are like certain drug overdoses and things like that the families, like, they hide because they're embarrassed to say that their son or daughter, OD'd. They don't want that. So, 50,000 people a year, maybe more, commit suicide, right? Think about that. A year. In 10 years, it's 500,000 people, right? Since 9/11, 1 million people committed suicide in the United States. Think about that. 1 million people committed suicide. I mean, that should like shake you to the bone. It's a similar number with like even car crashes, But you see car commercials on TV. Like I say, they're used car salesmen. That's what TV is. They sell cars. They sell cars and things that kill people. All right? This is ridiculous, and it's not talked about. Instead, it's like, there's an active shooter in Austin. What about the active shooter every frickin' day in Chicago, man? You sensationalize good-for-nothing, lying, content, family abusing people. No empathy, no concern for the victims. You're just using it as a story. Man, it's pretty sick. And then running the same stuff. The trials continuing, right? Like, so what? So what? That is, people don't like you to hear that, but to me, that's funny. Right? How they could get the whole country, glued to a TV over some one event that happens every day in like Chicago or New York or whatever. We've got psychopaths, man. And we got psychopaths on the street, and we got psychopaths who are politicians. We got psychopaths who are part of the corporatocracy and the World Economic Forum. That Klaus guy with the Great Reset, that guy's a narcissistic psychopath, man. All right? That guy Xi, the Communist Chinese Party leader, President Xi, whatever you want to call him, that guy's a narcissistic psychopath. All right. People don't get it. The United States is being run by people like that don't even, we have the laughing Queen of Hearts and the a guy who doesn't even know he's alive half the time till they give him the transfusion and those drugs that clarity drugs that only the rich and famous get, right? Do you ever notice when there's the deaths of these of magnates and stars, right? I don't know why my YouTube thing keeps popping up. Nice breakfast, though. I wish I could have that. I don't have any of that stuff, in my house, unfortunately. But do you ever notice when these magnates or ex-politicians who became multimillionaires or the cult personality types, that when they do die, they die at 99 or 100, and there'd be pictures of them in their 90s out on a golf course or something. They have access to stuff that you're never going to have access to, blood transfusions from they have companies that actually specialize. They closed one down, but then there was some legal thing and then they reopened them up. There was a company specializing, I guess, in getting 19-year-old blood, because I remember even when I went to college, there was some place, I can't think of the name of it, but it was something lab, and college students could go there once a week or once every other week, and you could sell your blood, and I don't know, maybe they get $20 or I don't know what they got, wasn't much, but it was back then it was enough that you would, you could, I guess a legitimate person could probably buy a book, or somebody else could have enough money to go out drinking, right? They sold their blood. It wasn't like donating it to the Red Cross or something weird like that. So anyway, that was long time ago, So now, they have so they get this youthful blood, right? And, that they really, really test, right? And they give these guys and gals a blood transfusion. Now, I don't know what the cost of it is exactly. It's pricey. But, imagine, okay, so you're 80 years old and you get a blood transfusion. In other words, your entire blood is replaced with 18-year-old blood. Right? Perfect match, in other words, this like I say, this is an industry. There's companies. This is, top high-end, state of the art. You want to use that word, in medicine technology, right? Perfect match, no side effects. In other words, it's like I'm getting the transfusion right now. You can't see it right on the side, and they're just about done. It's like, oh yeah. Ooh. Hey, honey, come on down. Come on down, baby. This 88-year-old is going to come to daddy. Or I go out and make a speech, or I go out and golf, or I do whatever I'm going to do. On top of that, they've got cocktails of drugs, if these people have mental decay, whatever. It's the end of my medium roast. But, well, I'm not going to chug it. Hopefully we make it to the end of the show with this. Yeah, they do that stuff. It's technology. It's no different than what Elon Musk wants to drill the hole in and do that stuff. And they're pawning that off as saying, well, this is going to be great for handicapped people or people who have no things, if they could move a mouse with their mind, and they already have stuff like that people are doing. And that's great. And it's great for vets and it's great for other handicapped people. But that's not his goal. That's not the purpose of his thing. His goal is to merge man with machine. That's what he really wants to do. So under the guise, it's a sideline that maybe some vets or some handicapped people will get the benefit of this. But, not some guy in Chicago, right? Only somebody in Austin or Boulder. Do you see? Where there's an active shooter gets coverage, right? In Dallas. It's got to be the key cities, where the networks like to hang out, and where they could easily, turn this into content, keep you tuned in so you watch that car commercial, right? That 1 million people over the past couple decades have died somehow. Now they want to make self-driving cars. That number's going to quadruple or, octuple or whatever. Suicides. 1 million people died of suicide since, 9/11. What's wrong with our society, man? And why are we putting all this thing? And this testing for this plague thing has become a $90 billion industry, right? And there's lockdowns. They lock down everybody except the artery clogging, fast food, junk food places, and giving people extra money knowing that they're just going to buy bags of chips, greasy chips, junk food, processed foods, things with sugars. I go down to supermarket because I'm living below the poverty line. So look, my neighborhood is diversity. This is diversity. Okay. I live in a neighborhood that's quite diverse. And they abuse. And so I see firsthand, again, that's what I'm saying. I'm not making something up. I see firsthand when I walk down the street, and you know what they got down there? There's just no word of a lie. I bought it the other day because I bought some the other day. I shouldn't have myself. I bought some fried chicken because they make that fried chicken in there and they pump that smell, and you can smell it almost a block away from the grocery store, right? That fried chicken smell. So they're selling fried chicken. And then there's this giant near where you buy the hot fried chicken, and then they got leftover chicken too, fried chicken. But next to it is just all the sugar stuff. Cookies, cupcakes, and all kinds of stuff with thick icing, this much icing on top of it. Right? And you get the frozen food aisle. And it's all full of processed this, processed that. And they're giving people extra EBT money. And I look at the checkout, and people are just shoving all that stuff in their carts. Artery clogging, heart attack, stroke causing stuff. While they lock down a business that's you know, providing a product or service for somebody. You can't even go to a dentist. Like I said before, I got teeth problems. I need to go to a freaking dentist, man. It's like every night I'm putting on this 4-time Oragel type of stuff to go to sleep because my mouth's in pain both here and here because these fillings, which I've shown before, but I'll show again because people don't. Let's see if you can see that. It looks like a rock. All right. Well, let me just show you. That's only, you think that's it? There's more. Let's see. See these things? Look how big they are. I mean, compared to my fingers. This came out of my mouth. These are fillings that some quack dentist, I did a thing on. And there's other pieces there. It came out of my mouth. I need to go to a dentist. But last year I had a problem with the tooth over here. And finally I said, I can't take it anymore. It was like towards the end of March, April. It was right when this thing, was starting to. And they said, well, I called the dentist. There's a dentist in my, where I live, like just several blocks away. I could walk to it. It's a long walk uphill, but I could do it. I called him on the phone. We're not taking any new customers. I said, I got a freaking toothache. I think it's infected. It could, you get infection in your gums and stuff into you could die from that. In fact, I know 2 people who died from that. One of them was a congressman, a famous congressman. No, it wasn't a congressman. Was a guy who supported a congressman. That's right. I knew another congressman. Well, I'll tell you who I used to know. I worked on his campaign right at the end. Jack Murtha. All right. I worked on his campaign. I knew him personally. He knew my name, called me Tony, right towards the end. But anyway, this other wealthy guy I knew, who I did work for. He was like a big businessman. I think he was a supporter of Murtha, so that's how I knew him. He died from some kind of tooth related problem, and I had a cousin who died from a tooth related problem. Right. Like what do they call it? A root canal. Right. Never get a root canal, man. I'm no dentist. I'm no doctor. Get one if you have to, if your doctor tells you to get one. But I know 2 people died. One was a millionaire. And I'd seen him the week before. He was a picture of health. Picture of health. Here comes the trucks, the track, big heavy machinery, heavy equipment stuff that runs on diesel that AOC wants to. They're going to try to fix the infrastructure like they're doing out there right now. Okay, that means another day of hell. My house is going to fall down, right? But they want to get rid of fossil fuels that these things run on. Yeah, a guy was a picture of health, died. So call this dentist. We're not taking any new customers. And basically what they were saying is they just didn't want anybody in. So I had to call an oral surgeon. It's the only place I could find open in the town. So I go to oral surgeon, and they don't do dentistry there. All he does is an oral surgeon. So he yanks, So I go in there, but he goes, on the phone, he says, well, yeah, but you have to get a test before you could come in. So I got my test. I have it hanging on the wall. I tested negative, which was a surprise to me because I was out and about, And so, yeah, and it says SARS-2 on it, right? Which now is starting to come out that, that's all this is SARS. That's another funny thing. And so, again, firsthand, it's SARS. Somebody was saying there's like 4 viruses that affect humans on the planet right now, that they know of, but that are predominant. And it's like SARS, MERS, and then those like ones that, like Ebola, the flesh eating, those other serious ones that unfortunately the poor people in Africa, get because, well, we ignore Africa, it's another thing. Yes, it's SARS. It's just a strain of SARS. It's SARS too. It's what it says on the thing. I tested negative for SARS too. It says COV or whatever on there, but it was SARS too. Firsthand, whatever. In case there's some stupid, people, I'm going to go grab that because, Hi, Blackie. Hi, kitty, kitty. Hi, kitty, kitty, kitty. Yeah, I'm back. Can't hear anything without the headphones. Sorry about that. My glasses are a mess. I need glasses too, and I can't find an optometrist in my town. They used to have one at Walmart. I call it Wally World, but they don't anymore. It's the bottom is the key thing. SARS-CoV-2. I don't know if you can see that. Not detected. There's like this RNA. See the RNA up there? It's like an RNA thing. This is the thing. So I had to get this. And then I was able to go to the dentist, well, the oral surgeon, and he yanked the tooth out. But that's all he does now is oral surgery. So it's either yanking a tooth or whatever. I guess people who have other kinds of surgical things done in their mouth, whatever that may be. I don't know. So, yeah, what about that nonsense? They don't care about us, man. They don't care about us. It's all we are. It's all we are to them.
Go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, that's the state of things today. It's like, and a truth sayer like me, a guy who reports things firsthand or goes right to the source, on the, I point, because right to the internet source from an official source, like I read from the Chicago Tribune, right? I don't think the, monitors can argue with the Chicago Tribune, right? Or the CDC. I go to the CDC. That's where I gave you those numbers from. Or here. This is my actual thing. Not detected. SARS-CoV-2. Right? Federal Reserve note. Social Security, not for identification. It's crazy. Really crazy,
Did you accidentally inject yourself with some kind of psychotropic agent?
No, man. But I really feel like becoming like, I used to like the fact that I used to have drinks every day after work, and I really want to get back to it. It's like in that movie, Leaving Las Vegas, let's get a drink, that crazy movie.
We'll have to remodulate our signal to match the network's interlink frequency.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that too. So yeah, I'm the only guy who gives you this long form information, who genuinely like puts stuff through the ringer while I'm talking. Let's just keep it alive, because there it is. That light's burning bright. This thing's not losing its power. These things don't have, they're, I'm not replacing batteries and stuff like that. This is crazy. Game over. Everything is wrong. Right? Then what? Question mark. That's another great shirt. Go to TonyCaravanLive.com and go to TonyCaravan.locals.com. Check the, description down. Watch this video on YouTube. Open up an account on Locals. Become a Locals person. You don't have to pay, People use it. It's like an alternative to Patreon for a lot of people, but you don't have to. I've supported some people on there, just because I had a little leftover money from my, government stimulus thing. And so I put it to, after getting things I needed that for the long term, like that. I mean, I bought that with stimulus money. I bought the NOAA radio, flashlight, solar charger, emergency cell phone charger. That thing also does that too, right? I got that, and I bought, a copy of my Game Over hat and some of my shirts and stuff to check them all out with that. And I had a few bucks left, so I supported a couple of little causes, But you don't have to do that. Join the community, because I'm going to eventually make some more videos that are only available on Locals, And I may, just for the sake of it, because I don't know if like that's their thing, I may have one or two that are, not member only, but you have to donate something too. Not because I want to make a buck, because I don't make a buck. I live below the poverty line intentionally. I mean, hey, if you've got some Bitcoin, you want to donate Bitcoin, go to Locals. I've got a Bitcoin thing there. Donate some money. My roof leaks, right? My house may be in jeopardy from this authority, water and sewer authority, shaking my house like a 12-hour long earthquake. You want to help a guy out? Buy some shirts. Get yourself a mug, if you want to do that. Help a brother out, man. But you only get the truth from me. That's the thing. And that's why that's the thing. Because, like I say, I should have put that thing up, but you can't handle the truth. That's the problem. People can't handle the truth. YouTube actually took down one of my videos, threatened to give me a strike on another one or something, right? Where do they get off doing that? When you see some of the crap that's on YouTube, these posers and these millionaires getting away with all kinds of lies, right? And the TV people that get their clips on YouTube, and all their stuff is like secondhand. Oh, they have a guest on, but the guest is given hearsay. It's not the source. You see, the source is firsthand. The source is me telling you, man, I was there. I was in Washington, D.C., in Capitol Hill, right? I met the dude, right? That's the thing, or when I go and I'm saying, look, here's the actual number. Not these people that come on and they're news readers. They're reading from scripts. They had makeup put on them before they came on the air. Oh, they got a tie on, right? Play that game. What's that, right? The uniform of conformity. I wrote an essay about that in one of my earlier books. I think I plopped it up on the screen a few videos ago. The uniform. What is that? What is that? Yeah, I went to a private school, and you used to have to wear a coat and tie. So I used to try to find the most flamboyant, ridiculous things in the world. So I would, uh, I would meet the standards because they didn't say color. So I'd go to school with like yellow pants, like some ridiculous flashy sport jacket, and some outrageous, ridiculous tie sometimes, you know. And of course, a couple of times I got kicked out because towards the end, I started growing a mustache and my hair was too long. So they kicked me out once because my hair was too long. They sent me to the barber shop, kicked me out of school, go to the barber shop. I go to the barber shop middle of the afternoon. The barber's like thinking I'm cutting class. No, the principal sent me down here. I need a haircut. I just cut it, just take off just enough to get me back in, right? Because I had something. Just take off that 1 inch. It was 1 inch. It was 1 inch over their thing. I've been a nonconformist from day one, man. Let's go through it. Let's go through it. Latest book, Codex. This was my second book, The Nonconformist. That's the one that deals with some of my DC stories. Handbook for the Upheaval, The Truth About Everything, Book 6. This was like book 8. There's another book out there, but the Eyes Without a Face guy's sitting on my surrealistic nightmare. I'm getting towards the end. So I don't think I have a chance any time to read that. But you got it. I think we covered some good ground, and I think I followed through with what I was trying to say. The title of this. Then what? Question mark. I mean, that's what was on the title card. Then what? And then on the thing, survive and thrive. So yeah, you could do it. Just as I say all the time, remove yourself as best as possible from the corporatocracy. And if you're able to, like me, like I'm living okay, at the poverty line, below the poverty line. And like I say, unlike a lot of people, I didn't go out and squander my little stimulus stuff. I got like stuff that's, if the power goes out and there's a storm, or if these wackos outside, knock down some pole or power thing, I'll have electric. I'll have, information available to me and all that stuff. I don't have to worry about burning candles for light. I'll have light. Let there be light. I'll be able to charge my, devices. So I guess that's it, really.
Good morning.
Have a great day. I have no idea why there was no chat working today. It's the second time that's happened. I think they intentionally cut that off. They're messing with me. They don't like truth sayers. If they can't silence you, see, the terms of service apply to them as well as you, as much as they apply to you, which a lot of people don't understand. They have to apply, but there's certain things they have to conform to as well. So thanks for watching. In the future, If you're watching this on locals and you made a fortune on Bitcoin, why don't you, you don't have to give a whole Bitcoin to somebody. You can give fractional amounts. Why don't you, give a few decimal points worth of Bitcoin, support this. It's like anything else, or just buy something, and if you don't want it yourself, give it to somebody, if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, don't do it. That's my whole idea. If you've got it, lend some, help somebody out. If you don't, well, take care of yourself and those around you, because it's, life life can be a struggle. But remember, we still live in a beautiful world. There's still plenty of beautiful people, despite all this craziness that the media and social media, that's mayhem is going on. Like, could you imagine? I won't even go to Twitter. You imagine, what's going on in Twitter right now. Well, these crazy people back and forth and whatever, and these people believing in elections and voting and campaign contributions, people begging for money. All that money does is goes to the media, and so and makes those news readers even richer. They're totally out of touch with reality. It's all a big game. We live in a corporatocracy. Well, you accept that. Get it through your thick skull. This world, there is no Western civilization. This is the former United States of America. It's never going to come back together because we have irreconcilable differences. You know that. The red state, blue states. The left and the right are never coming together. The so-called woke people aren't going to mix with, the MAGAs. All right. It's irreconcilable differences, right? Anti-Second Amendment, pro-Second Amendment, right? Free speech versus censorship, banning. All right. Right to life versus, the whole abortion issue, Roe v. Wade. These are irreconcilable differences. They're never going to, it's never coming together. Oh, someone could unite us, or maybe we'll be united through war or something. No, they're not. These are irreconcilable differences. This is why people get divorced. All right, for less. Anyway, that's that. You got it. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Have a hell of a nice day. Hell of a great day. Today's Monday. Have a good week, actually. Cheers. Talk to you tomorrow.